What's up, chat? What's up, chat? What's up, chat? How you guys? How's everybody doing today on this beautiful Wednesday? Um, Welcome to the first physical thing I've done today, but not really. Today is day 227 of the 1 Year Bible Read on the Limitless Core channel. Today we're going to be reading from Nehemiah 9:22 through 10, going through verse 39, and then 1 Corinthians 9:19 through 10, then Psalms 34 1 through 10, and then Proverbs 21:13 to wrap up tonight's read. Um, Today is day 227 of our 1 Year Bible Read on the Limitless Core channel. We've been doing this for 227 straight days, and we'll be doing this for 365 straight days. So if you want to join us for this consecutive read, we've been doing this whether we were sick, injured, going through things, not wanting to do this, sometimes recovering from things that sometimes I wish I had more sleep. um, but with all the excuses to not keep going, we have continued to keep going. So today is day 227, but this is also a reminder that the journey keeps on going. And today, let's go ahead and get started with Nehemiah 9:22 through 10, going through verse 39. Then you helped our ancestors conquer kingdoms and nations, and you placed your people in every corner of the land. And they took over the land of King Sihon of Heshbon and the land of King Og of Bashan. You made their descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky and brought them into the land you had promised to their ancestors. They went in and took possession of the land. You subdued whole nations before them. Even the Canaanites who inhabited the land were powerless. Your people could deal with these nations and their king as they're pleased. Our ancestors captured fortified cities and fertile land. They took over houses full of good things and cisterns already dug and vineyards and olive groves and fruit trees in abundance. So they ate until they were full and grew fat and enjoyed themselves in all your blessings. But despite all this, they were disobedient and rebelled against you. They turned their backs on your law. They killed your prophets who warned them to return to you, and they committed terrible blasphemies. So you handed them over to their enemies, who made them suffer. But in their time of trouble, they cried to you, and you heard them from heaven. In your great mercy, you sent all them liberators who rescued them from their enemies. But as soon as they were at peace, your people again committed evil in your sight, and once more, you let their enemies conquer them. Yet, whenever your people turned and cried to you again for help, you listened once more from heaven, and in your wonderful mercy, you rescued them many times. You warned them to return to your law, but they became proud and obstinate, and disobeyed your commands. They did not follow your regulations, by which people will find life if they only obey. They stubbornly turned their backs on you and refused to listen. In your love, you were patient with them for many years. You sent your spirit who warned them through the prophets, but still they wouldn't listen. So once again you allowed the peoples of the land to conquer them. But in your great mercy you did not destroy them completely or abandon them forever. What a gracious and merciful God you are. And now, our God, the great and mighty and awesome God, who keeps his covenant of unfailing love, do not let all the hardships we have suffered seem insignificant to you. Great trouble has come upon us and upon our kings and leaders and priests and prophets and ancestors, all of your people, from the days when the kings of Assyria first triumphed over us until now. Every time you punish us, you are being just. We have sinned greatly, and you gave us only what we deserved. Our kings, leaders, priests, and ancestors did not obey your law or listen to the warnings in your commands and laws. Even while they had their own kingdom, they did not serve you, though you showered your goodness on them. You gave a large, fertile land, but they refused to turn from their wickedness. So now today, we are slaves in the land of plenty that you gave to our ancestors for their enjoyment. We are slaves here in this good land. The lush produce of this land piles up in the hands of the kings whom you have set over us because of our sins. They have power over us and our livestock, and we serve them at their pleasure, and we are in great misery. The people responded, In view of all this, we are making a solemn promise and putting it in writing. On this sealed document are the names of our leaders and Levites and priests. The document was ratified and sealed with the following names: the governor, Nehemiah son of Hakaliah, and also Zedekiah. The following priests: Sariah, Azariah, Jeremiah, Pashur, Amariah, Malkijah, Hattush, Shebaniah, Maluk, Harim, Merimoth, Obadiah, Daniel, Ginnathon, Baruch, Meshullam, Abijah, Benjamin, Mosiah, Bilgai, and Shemaiah. These were the priests. The following Levites. So they get somebody's at the door. Jeshua son of Azaniah, Benu from the family of Henadad, Kadmiel and their fellow Levites, Shebaniah, Hodiah, Hilatah, Peliah, Hanan, Micah, Rehob, Hashabiah, Zakur, Sherebiah, Shebaniah, Hodiah, Bani, and Beninu. The following leaders: Parush, Bahath Moab, Elam, Zatu, Bani, Buni, Asgad, Babai, Adonijah, Bivah, Aden, Atir, Hezekiah, Hazur, Hodiah, Hashum, Bazai, Harif, Anathoth, Nebai, Malchiash, Meshullam, Hizir, Meshabalel, Zaduk, Jadua, Pelatiah, Hanan, Anaiah, Hoshea, Hananiah, Hashub, Halohesh, Poha, Shobek, Rehum, Hashbanah, Maaseiah, Ahiah, Hanan, Anan, Maluk, Harim, and Banah. Then the rest of the people, the priests, Levites, gatekeepers, singers, temple servants, and all who separated themselves from the pagan people of the land in order to obey the law of God, together with their wives, sons, daughters, and all who were old enough to understand, joined their leaders and bound themselves with an oath. They swore a curse on themselves if they failed to obey the law of God as issued by the servant Moses. They solemnly promised to carefully follow all the commands, regulations, and decrees of the Lord, our Lord. We promise not to let our daughters marry the pagan people of the land, and not to let our sons marry their daughters. We also promise that if the people of the land should bring any merchandise or grain to be sold on the Sabbath or on any other holy day, we refuse to buy it. Every 7th year we will let our land rest, and we will cancel all debts owed to us. In addition, we promise to obey the command to pay the annual temple tax of 1/8 of an ounce of silver for the care of the temple of our God. This will provide for the bread of the presence, for the regular grain offerings and burnt offerings, for the offerings on the Sabbaths, the new moon celebrations, and the annual festivals for the holy offerings, and for the sin offerings to make atonement for Israel. It will provide for everything necessary for the work of the temple of our God. Is it crispy? Muslim last week is crazy. We have cast sacred lots to determine when at regular times each year the families of the priests, Levites, and common people should bring wood to God's temple and to be burned on the altar of the Lord our God, as is written in the law. We promise to bring the first part of every harvest to the Lord's temple year after year, whether it be crop from the soil or from the fruit trees. We agree to give God our oldest sons and the firstborn of all our herds and flocks, as prescribed in the law. We will present them to the priests who minister in the temple of our God. We will store the produce in the storerooms of the temple of our God. We will bring the best of our flour and other grain offerings, the best of our fruit, and the best of our new wine and olive oil. And we promise to bring to the Levites 1/10 of everything our land produces, for it is the Levites who collect the tithes in all of rural towns. A priest, a descendant of Aaron, will be the Levites as they receive these tithes. And 1/10 of all that is collected as tithes will be delivered by the Levites to the temple of our God and placed in the storerooms. The people and the Levites must bring these offerings of grain, new wine, and olive oil to the storerooms and place them in the sacred container near the ministering priest, the gatekeepers, and the singers. We promise together not to neglect the temple of our God. You took old for collecting dolls? Bro, you're never too old to do something you enjoy. And now, 1 Corinthians 9:19 through 10. Even though I am a free man with no master, I have become a slave to all people who bring many to Christ. When I was with the Jews, I lived like a Jew to bring the Jews to Christ. When I was with those who followed the Jewish law, I too lived under that law. Even though I'm not subject to the law, I did this so I could bring to Christ those who were under the law. When I am with the Gentiles who do not follow the Jewish law, I too live apart from that law so I can bring them to Christ. But I do not ignore the law of God. I obey the law of Christ. When I am with those who are weak, I share their weakness, for I want to bring the weak to Christ. Yes, I try to find common ground with everyone, doing everything I can to save some. I do everything to spread the good news and sharing its blessings. Don't you realize that in a race everyone runs, but only one person gets the prize? So run to win. All athletes are disciplined in their training. They do it to win a prize that will fade away, but we do it for an eternal prize. So I run with purpose in every step. I am not just shadow boxing. I discipline my body like an athlete, training it to do what it should. Otherwise, I fear that after preaching to others, I myself might be disqualified. I don't want you to forget, dear brothers and sisters, about our ancestors in the wilderness long ago. All of them were guided by a cloud that moved ahead of them, and all of them walked through the sea on dry ground. In the cloud and in the sea, all of them were baptized as followers of Moses. All of them ate the same spiritual food, and all of them drank the same spiritual water. For they drank from the spiritual rock that traveled with them, and that rock was Christ. Yet God was not pleased with most of them, and their bodies were scattered in the wilderness. These things happened as a warning to us, so that we could not crave evil things as they did, or worship idols as some of them did. As the scriptures say, the people celebrated with feasting and drinking, and they indulged in pagan revelry. And we must not engage in sexual immorality as some of them did, causing 23,000 of them to die in one day. Nor should we put Christ to the test as some of them did and then died from the snake bites. And don't grumble as some of them did and then were destroyed by the angel of death. These things happened to them as an example for us. They were written down to warn us to live at the end of the age. If you think you are standing strong, be careful not to fall. The temptations in your life are not different from what others experience, and God is faithful. He will not allow the temptation to be more than what you can stand. When you're tempted, He will show you a way out so that you can endure. And now Psalms 34, 1 through 10. I will praise the Lord at all times. I will constantly speak His praises. I will boast only in the Lord, and let all who are helpless take heart. Come, let us tell of the Lord's greatness. Let us exalt His name together. I prayed to the Lord, and He answered me. He freed me from all my fears. Those who look to Him for help will be radiant with joy, and no shadow of shame will darken their faces. In my desperation I prayed, and the Lord listened. He saved me from all my troubles, for the angel of the Lord is at guard. He surrounds and defends all who fear Him. Taste and see that the Lord is good. Oh, the joys of those who take refuge in Him. Fear the Lord, you His godly people. For those who fear Him will have all they need. Even strong young lions sometimes go hungry, but those who trust in the Lord will lack no good thing. And now, standing strong or sitting pretty. 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 There's an old saying that refers to someone who thinks he has made it in life or appears financially secure. That person is sitting pretty. Whenever we feel we have made it beyond failure, all our battles are won, it is time to reconsider. We are most vulnerable when we let down our guard because we think we're beyond struggle or immune to common temptations. God has a path for us at our weakest and strongest moments, and it always involves connection with Him and connection with other men. And now, chat, we're going to turn off the camera, ask for clarity, wisdom, discernment on today's word, and then I'll be right back. Give me 1 second. back, chat. Welcome back, chat. Um, so today was day 227 in a row of our 1 year Bible read. We can ignore chat. I ain't gonna lie. Bro said last week we doing it for 227 days, brother. But I'm not gonna lie, I was not gonna stop reading the word for you, my G. Not gonna lie. It's pretty funny though. Uh, but today, chat, we read from August the 15th because we started reading our 1 year Bible read 2 days earlier than the year started, right? So we're 2 days early. We're on day 227 and we're doing this for 365 days. Um, I'm thinking about reading this for 2 years straight, actually. I feel like the first read was just like, getting familiar. I feel like I might do this for 2 years straight now. Just like to really drive everything home. It's crazy. But hey, I mean, we'll get there when we get there. But yeah. But today's read chat has come from Nehemiah 9:22 through 10. Um, then we followed that up with 1 Corinthians 9:19 through 10. And then Psalms 34 1 through 10, and then Proverbs 21:13. And today's chapter we're going to start with Nehemiah 9:22 through 10, going through verse 39. Okay, so we have a lesson to learn today. We have also maybe even a reflection of our own lives and a reflection of so many lives before us, right? Today we talked about the Jewish people when they were first freed, the fall from grace, and their return to God, right? They were free. They were shown so many miracles. They were led to cross the sea, even if you don't believe it happened. You know, I mean, sit with me, right, and just be free for a moment, just to imagine that the water did split, and they did walk across on dry ground across the water. They crossed a sea on dry land, and then the water collapsed behind them, taking away all their enemies and washing them away. First gigantic sign, maybe one to never forget. Um, then they were brought to places where when they didn't have food to eat, they were given food from a source they had never seen before. Then when they needed all other things that they needed, when they complained, when they got all these feeling of being ungrateful, they were still provided for, even in their ungratefulness. So even when we're not worthy, God will still bless us, right? But then it came to a point to where it's like, what more can you do for someone who doesn't want to see all the amazing things they already have at their disposal, right? So God did the one thing, I mean, just their only option really at that point. He had to take some things away, just to show that how much they have really been provided for, right? Sometimes when we're ungrateful, some things start to go away, and then we realize how good we had it, right? And that was the same thing for them. They became ungrateful. They didn't see how good they really had it. How every time they needed a way made, a way was made for them. And then they were brought to this village and they were told to take over this village, but in fear, they didn't trust the one who had saved them from so many things before now. And so that's when they fell. They let fear rule them rather than letting God rule them, right? And so they missed out a blessing, and then they fell into destruction. And so they fell. But they didn't fall for too long. They only fell until they realized that they needed to surrender. They only fell until they realized they had to surrender. That everything they were doing was not working, and that the only way they were going to be able to get out of this mess that they created for themselves is to surrender to God. The same way they had to surrender when they needed a way out is the same way they had to surrender now. And so they surrendered. They humbled themselves and they surrendered. And then God made a way once again. But just as before, they didn't learn. And this is our lesson to learn today. This is our grand message to learn today. When God rescues you after you had been rebellious, after you had stopped believing, don't forget when he blesses you again, once you surrender, that you were already rescued. Don't forget that you've been saved and that you don't have to go back to that stuff anymore. That stuff won't bring you to where God just brought you to. It's going to build your ego back up. And then you're going to be ungrateful again. And then God's going to take everything away. Maybe not even everything, just a few things to just make you uncomfortable a bit. Until you realize that your help came from God and not from those things. And then that's the message they kept having to learn. So our message to learn from Nehemiah today is, do you want to keep having to learn the same lesson? Do you want to keep making the same mistake? Do you want to keep forgetting how good you have it? Do you want to keep forgetting how good life is right now when you see how good somebody else's is? Will you appreciate everything that you have already been blessed with? Enough to surrender to allow God to bless you with more if you so seek for it? Or will you step away from God when you believe he can't give you what you want? What will you do? What will you do? And in Nehemiah today, we got to see this story play out without having to live it for ourselves. We don't have to go through the same tragedy, the same disaster as the people before us went through, because we can learn from their mistakes. And that's what you're being called to do right now, to learn from their mistakes, so that you don't also have to go through the same heartbreak, the same travesties, the same humiliation that they had to go through. It's not about who they are, them being Jewish or them being a different person than you. It's about learning from their mistakes. And that's what this is about. Learning from mistakes. So you see mistakes right in front of your face. You heard the mistakes they made in today's read. Do you want to make those? Or would you rather just surrender to God? And now let's keep reading. Let's hop into 1 Corinthians 9:19 through 10. And in Corinthians, we're talking about service. We have the author of Corinthians telling us about the service and how deep the service is for them. How when they're in service and when they're following Christ, following God, they're so deep in the service that they change themselves just to help more people. They put themselves through so much just to keep helping more people. But in the same sense, they don't allow themselves to get too big-headed so that they may lose their place with God in the end, right? They don't become so big-headed that they try to replace God in a sense, right? They realize that they're not God, they're not Jesus, and they're just here just to do the work. So instead of bringing destruction on themselves, they decided to forego that part of the journey, right? And just stay humble. So we can learn something from our storyteller in 1 Corinthians 9:19 through 10. Yes, you can help. Yes, you can do all these things, but never forget really your place in everything. You can be everything and you can be nothing. What's up, paranormal ghost investigator? Good to see you again. I'm glad you're still alive. I'm glad. It looks like you got away from that ghost last time. Then I'm happy for you. Oh man. Um, and we just, just remembering that, at the end of the day, we're servants, right? And we live in service, um, not because we're beneath, uh, but because we are grateful. Because we're grateful, you know, we're grateful. Doesn't mean you're beneath because you're in service to God. Nah, I'm good, bro. I'm always good, bro. We're reading the 1 year Bible read. We were going over today's scriptures. Um, my camera is a little high, and my mic is over here, so I'm not in frame as much. Um, but we just remember that we're in service, right? And we're not below or beneath because we're in service. We're grateful because we're in service. We're grateful to be able to help. I'm grateful to be able to speak to somebody and make somebody's day better, or to open a door for somebody, or to say hey to somebody, or to tell a joke to somebody. I'm grateful for the ability to do these things. You know, so it doesn't make me smaller. It honestly makes me bigger. you know, um, and keeps me from falling into a pit somewhere. So so I'm grateful to be able to be of service because that's my job. But let's keep on reading. I'm glad I made your day better, man. I'm happy to see it. But let's keep on reading. Proverbs 21:13. So those who shut their ears to the cries of the poor will be ignored in their own time of need. Don't forget to help is the main sentiment of this verse. Don't forget to be of service to your neighbor, right? You're gonna have some neighbors that's gonna need your help. You have some people that's gonna need you just to talk to them. Don't ignore them. Don't ignore them. Don't ignore them. What's up, Niche? How you doing? Good to see you. In chat, Niche showed up at the very end of the stream. The chat, that's gonna be the end of the day's 1 year Bible read. This has been day 227 in a row. We're doing this for 365 days. Um, we might even do it for double that. We don't even know that yet. In the way I'm feeling right now, we might just do this twice. We might just do this twice. You know, what's up, Pate? What's up, not Pate? What's up, Pate? We might just do this twice. You never know. So I for sure do. I remember you because your name's funny. Um, Facts. Same. Me too. I'm glad you're my friend too. You know, and then just I appreciate everybody for sitting around, joining me, fellowshipping with me, um, listening to me. I'm nobody, but I appreciate you listening to things I have to say. Um, and this is the time for the outro. So if you heard it before, say it with me, and if you never heard it, here's your first time. I hope you enjoy. We all got that limitless core, baby. I appreciate you. I might even love you, but I'm for sure glad you woke up today. Thank you for joining me for another 1 year Bible stream on the channel. Say see you later, son. um, and I appreciate your presence as always. Um, yeah, that's kind of how it goes, huh? I'm grateful. I'm grateful though, But I appreciate your presence as always. Whether it's for a minute, a millisecond, a second, or if you've been with me for a while now. There's some people that just came, some people that just joined, some people that's been with me for a while now. Nisha's been here for a while. We have some new people in the chat with Paranormal, Peyton, um, and a few others that have been coming through lately. And I appreciate your presence, all of you, everybody, every single person. Because there's a billion people in the world, and you just so happen to be here with me. So I truly appreciate that. Have a great one. Have a great rest of your day because I'm having a great rest of mine. Peace. See you next time. Say see you later, baby. See you later, everybody. I love you. I loved you then, and I love you now. Peace.